I'm Megan Skidmore. For 2.5 years, I have been talking about evolving faith journeys. I started to tire of the heaviness of this focus. I had the clear message come through. It is time for Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast to evolve into Living Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast. With the same vulnerability and unapologetic authenticity, I will be focusing on the joy in this journey, the life and the living that comes on the other side of maybe, on the other side of what's possible. I want to talk about claiming spiritual sovereignty and becoming your own captain of your vessel. Let's celebrate releasing what no longer aligns for you and connecting with your higher power and honor expanding your energy field to make room for all things new. The vibration is high this month on Living Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast. Pretense is dropped and caution thrown to the wind in each interview. I'm dropping a new episode daily, spotlighting one of the amazing, soul-led, heart-centered authors of Joan of Arc Publishing, or JOA Publishing, founded by Kira Brinton. Like the namesake for this publishing house, each one embodies the fearless, God-centered spirit left by the legacy of Joan of Arc. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single one. Hey everybody, welcome yet again to another fabulous episode for this month-long book club of these amazing Joan of Arc publishing authors and members of the Mosaic community. I have Amanda Jensen with me today. So excited to hear your story and share it with everybody. Welcome, Amanda.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I have found that I'm getting to know everybody a lot more, and so I'm looking forward to doing the same with you. So let's go. Share with everybody all about you, your background, all of the things.
Okay, so I grew up on a 2,000-acre ranch in southeastern Idaho, so it really instilled in me like this love of nature and also like very earthiness. I now live in St. George, Utah, which is also very earthy. You can get outside even more during the year. You don't have those really cold winters that they have in Idaho. So that's kind of my background.
Mhm.
My family was all very staunch members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think I told you, Megan, that my dad is a patriarch. So he's kind of that wise man on the hill. And he's still to this day, he's like one of my favorite people. I just really adore him.
That's
But
great.
then my nuclear family, so like here in St. George, it's just me and my 13-year-old son, and his father passed away from leukemia. Yeah, that's a little about me. Anything more you want to know about me?
So you grew up in Idaho, you now live in St. George. You have a son, you've been remarried since the
I have
passing of your,
I have
no.
not been remarried. No.
Oh, okay, I misunderstood. My apologies. See,
Okay.
I'm getting to know everybody.
It's all good. No, I have not. It's
So
uh
tell us about your work right now.
so my work, I have a few jobs. I am an author, so I have published one book, which we can talk about.
Mhm.
And I also teach English online. So I work for a Brazilian-based company. It's called B Course. So uh, that is something that I do. And then I'm also a health coach. So I've worked in like preventative health stuff for a lot of years. I have a bachelor's in biology and then I have a graduate degree in bioethics and health policy. So that's
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I want to dive into your book in just a little bit, but share a little bit with us about your faith journey. I really appreciate hearing, especially those moments when folks come to this point. You could call it a fork in the road. I don't, where you realize you kind of have an awakening. You realize things maybe aren't as you understood them or aren't as your life experiences introduces you to a new set of circumstances that don't really mesh well with your whatever your belief system has been up to that point, and when did you experience something like that and how did you navigate it? Like, Yeah, share about that.
So my eyes were actually like really opened when I married my husband. He had a very broad belief system. He was strong in the faith that I grew up in, but he also taught me a lot about like the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita and
Mm,
these other very holy works, and we would go to Muslim temples, and I got like the whole outfit and I loved it. We would go to the Krishna temple, the Festival of
mhm,
Colors.
mhm,
So really like I think for a long, long time I've had a very broad view of spirituality. So I wouldn't say that oftentimes you hear like, oh, the light went out, the lights diminish. I feel like even then, which was a long time ago, was 2009, so it's been like
yeah.
almost if it's been 15 years, longer than that. I just feel like I've been very inspired by a lot of different religions and
Mm,
then when I chose to study science, I wanted to see like how science kind of explained the role of divinity. So I don't know. I'm still kind of in the middle of navigating where I'm at, but I would say
mhm,
that letting more of the spirituality in, like, especially since my husband passed, which
mhm.
I was taught, I am still to him and it's this way and it's one way. And I just feel like my spirituality has been immensely opened up and it's just grown like in this way that before it felt very narrow, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that, how it's opened up. But for our listeners who are not of the LDS faith background, can you share a little bit more about what you mean when you said you were sealed to your husband and you were taught it was this way and only this way? If you can expand on that just for them to understand better.
Yeah, so for those who aren't aware or don't know much about the LDS, which is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like what they believe, when you are sealed to a man in a temple, you are with them, we believe, for eternity. And
Hmm.
I think for me, what I struggled with the most is after he died, I was pretty young. I was 30 years old. And when he died, I started dating more members of the faith that were men, and some of them had lost wives, also fairly young, and they could all be sealed again to another woman. And I could not unless I broke that sealing. So that's one thing that's
With your
taught.
husband.
hmm And that was my biggest struggle is, well, I'm dating these men, but they can just go find somebody who's young, doesn't have any kids, and that's never been married, and they can just marry them again in the temple. So that's one of the teachings that's a little interesting. But there's so much more, there's a lot of teachings
Hmm.
in the Latter-day Saint religion that, um, like, it's hard to discuss without like really going back to like the super basics, for someone who hasn't grown up in the church. But for me, that was the biggest struggle.
Hmm. So if I can ask, if you feel comfortable answering, how have you navigated that? Like, how has that affected your faith observance, your worship, your spirituality, your spiritual journey, I guess we could say.
Yeah, so that's been interesting because a lot of time in the church, a family unit is
Mhm.
it's like a basic thing that when you're not a part of that anymore and you try to go to church, say as a single mom,
Mhm.
it feels so weird because they teach so much about family, family, family. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden you're like, I lost my family. It's like, how do you navigate that? And that has been
Mhm.
a big struggle. But also, they teach a lot about priesthood, and all of a sudden my son didn't have, and for those who aren't members of the LDS church, the priesthood power is, it's only the men have it, and it can be passed down from men to other men. And
Hmm.
my son didn't have someone to keep that lineage going, and that was also another hard thing to navigate. But I think it's affected me in a way where I've just had to like step back and really, and like I told you, Megan, like I'm still kind of navigating, like where do I want to go from here?
Hmm.
Where are we going from here? So
Thank you for sharing that. What I love about what you said was you are giving yourself permission to be right where you're at. At least that's how it's coming across to me. You are kind of what's called the messy middle, and you
totally.
are trying to find that alignment that starts from above and it goes through your central channel to your root chakra and to just throughout your whole body, and you just know that that's the right path. And sometimes that comes more quickly than others. Sometimes there's steps, you know. It's all cyclical, right? It's not linear. There's no point of arrival, I truly believe. But I
Yeah,
do love that you are giving yourself that space and that breadth to explore and figure things out. I think as women, we don't always allow that for ourselves.
definitely. Yeah, there was another thing that happened, that when I was dating a man, and we did not have sex, but there is a very, for those who are not part of the Latter-day Saint faith, like there's some things that if you cross some lines, you're told you need to talk to a priesthood holder, a bishop
Hmm.
about. And when I did speak to him, he lived in another state. So I talked to a bishop in Utah, he talked to a bishop in another state, and the things that we were told to do, for to repent, to have a repentance process, which if you're not of the faith, it's just kind of like saying you're sorry to God and trying not to do that again. Mine was very strict, like they took away the sacrament. So I'm sure those, like, if you're familiar with any Christian faith, there's usually some type of a sacrament where there's like water or wine and some type of bread.
Hmm.
And it was interesting to me, like this really shook my faith, that my bishop had taken away that and a few other things, and his bishop in another state did none of that.
Wow. As part of my commitment to giving back, every first Friday of the month, I offer a free coaching hour. Anyone is welcome to join, and you may leave your camera off and change your name if you would like to remain anonymous. This is an opportunity to get introduced to my style of holistic coaching and what it would be like to work with me. Gain real skills, insight relevant to you, and fresh perspective on life circumstances. Each month is a different topic. For those attending, there will be opportunities for a complimentary one-off energy alignment session. Once registered, you will have access to discount codes for my other offerings. To get the link, including all the resources, register to complete the agreement at the link in the show notes.
So that kind of shook my core a little. But also like the shame around my body. So I didn't like that feeling, especially where
Hmm.
I've been married before, and as a teenager, you kind of see things differently, but when you're older and you've had experiences, especially when you are married to a cancer patient, there's,
Hmm.
there's just a big part of me now, like I I'm not gonna hold that shame against my body. And that's been a hard thing to navigate. Again, I don't know where I'll end up.
Yeah. I'm really proud of you. I'm really happy for you. That is very real. That feeling of shame that comes from growing up in a culture that puts so much of the responsibility in women's hands, on their heads for the thoughts, the actions, etc. of men. If you grew up in a conservative faith, most likely you've heard, "Oh, you shouldn't be dressed like that. it will make them think bad thoughts or do bad things. And it's a very real process, trying to shed those layers and see your body as the beautiful God-given gift, God-created gift that it is, and that you're responsible only for you, period. And I'm sorry that happened with that relationship situation where you were treated differently than the male individual involved in the situation. Unfortunately, that's not the first time that I've heard of something along those lines happening. I hope for better in the future as women learn to tap into and connect with that inner wisdom, their intuition, and trust it, build that self-trust, and know how to drop into their bodies and listen to what their, not just their mind, but their heart, their very soul is telling them that they'll more will claim their power, including the way they live life and who they tell their story to and to what extent and so on. So thank you for sharing and giving us some idea of your faith journey. Um, I I spent a long time, I don't know, is 2.5 years a long time? I don't know, where
Probably.
my
And maybe
podcast focused primarily on some of the struggles and the hard things and or at least brought them up and we discussed them. But I really want to talk more about the joy that comes when you step into that unknown. It can be scary, it can be nerve-wracking, but simultaneously, there's so much available, so much waiting for us on the other side that we just really can't imagine. You're nodding your head very emphatically for those that are listening. So I would love for you to share some of those beautiful moments, moments of aha or insight, or you just really connected. Maybe you experienced some type of spiritual rebirth. Can you share those with us?
Yeah, I love Megan. I love this question so much that you're focusing on the positive and you're focusing on the joy. Like, I just love that that's what
Right.
your focus is
Thank
now.
you.
Because I really have a hard time kind of stepping back to those struggles. Because since then, I feel like I have grown. So I just love that that this is your focus. And it is sometimes hard, but there's so many joyful practices that I've put into place. And like one of them, the author who wrote the foreword of my book, his name is Hal Elrod, and he wrote a book called The Miracle Morning. And one of the practices that I love that I do every day is it's Savers, Savers. So you can
Okay.
check out his book too on that. But every morning I have silence, so I take time to meditate, and I have like an old it's a Muslim prayer rug, and I take the time to meditate, and then A is affirmations. So whatever my goal is for the month, put I know some people believe in affirmations and some don't, so this one can be like a tricky topic, but whatever my focus is for that month, I'll say something about it. Like last month, for example, I really want to focus on my writing. So
Mhm.
my affirmation was like, well, instead of spending money, I will write, So every time I thought about spending money, I was like, well, I'm going to go write. So something like that. And then it'll change for February.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah. So A is affirmations, V is visual or visualize. So I would visualize myself like writing more. And so these can be really quick. Like I take usually 5 to 10 minutes on each one, sometimes less. And then E is exercise. So I'll move my body for at least 10
Mhm.
minutes, sometimes more. And then R is reading. So I'll read. There were quite a few books I got at this. We just had a JOA event, and I've been reading the Money One by Julia. So good.
Money loves you.
Yeah. Uh-huh. That's been my book, and that's been so good to read. Very powerful book. And then S is just scribe. So I'll take the time to write. And I am writing another book. So the first book I wrote is called Marshalling Beats of Your Heart.
Hmm.
And that's the one that Hal Elrod wrote the foreword for. He also fought the same type of leukemia
Okay.
as my late husband, and they also both fought at MD Anderson. So that's why he wrote the foreword of this book.
I
So
see.
yeah, so that one's Marsing Beats of Your Heart, and you want to focus on joy, and that's what this book does. Like even through like the hardest of times, like this is an example. Like this is my book. It's an example to me of how to have joy even in your biggest struggles, and it's just how to lead from your heart and rediscover the rhythm of joy and meaning.
Hmm.
And that one's available on Amazon. And then the one I am working on currently that I write on every morning is with JOA. And that is right now it's on lightening heavy hearts, but it's also on lightening loss. There's been so much loss lately with like the
Hmm.
fires and the plane crash, and I just feel like this really I'm just passionate about helping these people that have experienced so much loss.
Hmm. I can see that. I can feel that. There has been a lot of loss. The beginning of this year has already thrown some wrenches in the spokes, we could say.
Yeah.
We'll make sure to leave the link to your book in the show notes, and
Great.
we'll look forward to hearing about the one you're currently writing, um, and even a link to The Miracle Morning, I think is what you
Yeah,
said
The
it
Miracle
was.
Morning by Hal. Yeah, I can send you
Yeah,
all those links.
yeah, that would be great. Um, yeah, your story is so touching. I heard you when you said just now you feel very passionately about helping those with loss. And I know that comes from a very sincere place in your heart from personal experience. So thank you for doing your work and for leaning into the hard. I'm sure it's not always easy. So, uh, the last question I like to ask my guests, um, it's a reflection of the title of my podcast.
Okay.
Um, I like to focus on doubt as a good thing, a natural thing, a normal thing, and take it out of the light that traditionally it's been cast in, kind of a negative stigma attached to it, or even a shameful one. But so my question is, what does living beyond the shadow of doubt mean to you?
Yeah, this is a good question. Because, that's such an interesting thought that I love that you said, well, you know, this new meaning of doubt, and it's okay to have doubt. I love that you said that. And I agree with that. Like in order to have the light, there has to be a shadow. If there's not a shadow, there's no light. So there is room for doubt. And presently, I think for me, it just means like we really don't know when our lives are going to end. We really don't know when we're going to hit really dark times. And why not just live in the light now? And why not like find that there is an opposite of that darkness. There is doubt, but there's also the opposite of it. There's that joy that you
Mhm.
want to focus on so much. And
Mhm.
and one thing I don't doubt is that that light, it's going to give us more love and it's going to give us
Mhm.
what we want
Absolutely.
today. So,
Yeah, I see doubt as a catalyst. Without it, I think we'd kind of be stagnant, but we are dynamic beings living a dynamic life. We are not static by any means, and nor are we meant to be stagnant. And I think doubt is a catalyst for a lot of growth, a lot of learning, a lot of expansion.
100%.
Yeah. So, I'd like to throw out a few for fun questions to my guests.
Yay, I like the fun part.
Yes. Okay, good. Just looking for one or two word answers. Tell us your favorite book. You've told us lots of books that you like.
I
Maybe you have a
know
favorite. If you don't, that's fine.
that's a hard question, but I love The Alchemist because he's the writer's Portuguese, and I speak Portuguese. I also love that book by Wendell Berry, Life is a Miracle. So probably a toss-up between those two, but yeah,
Awesome. No, I didn't know you spoke Portuguese. Amazing.
that's how I teach Brazilians English. Yes.
Gotcha. Amazing. And then are you an introvert or an extrovert?
Oh, such a good question. I'm an ambivert. I have figured that out about myself. I love being around people, but then I really need my time to recharge. So
I
ambivert.
feel that. I feel And who is your favorite artist?
Oh, my favorite artist. I think if you're talking about music, which in my world I love music, it's Lainey. It's a group from LA to New York. Lainey, Lany. I love them.
Neat. Oh, no, I've never heard of that. That's great. Are you a night owl or a morning lark?
100% a morning lark. I have all my energy
Lucky.
in the morning. That's why I do all those savers in the morning. Morning lark.
Yeah, that makes sense. Love it. Uh, do you have a celebrity crush?
I did when I was a kid, which was JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas. I don't know if you remember him or if
I
anybody
don't.
listening is old enough for that, but Jonathan Taylor Thomas was always my my celebrity.
Awesome. I'm gonna have to
Home
look him up. I don't
Improvement,
remember.
Home
Oh,
Improvement.
oh, oh, yes, yes. Okay, yes,
Yeah,
the sun. Okay, I know
that's
who you're
on.
talking about now. Do you do still
Yeah,
or carbonated water, or are you a diet soda fan, or something
I'm
else?
definitely a still water,
Okay,
not the carbonation.
that's
Yep.
good, healthy. And then the furthest place that you have traveled.
I have traveled. When I was 16, I traveled to Japan. So I don't know why
Mm,
my parents trusted me, but I was 16, my brother was 14, and they sent both of us to Tokyo, Japan. And I remember, like, in all the karaoke rooms, they all called me, like, Britney Spears or something at the time
oh
because
my
that's
goodness.
all they really
Did you
knew.
go with a group?
No, it was just me and my brother. We met up with one of
Oh,
our, I don't know, I must have been a
you must have been
trustful
very
teenager.
mature.
Yeah, we met up with an exchange student so she could, speak the language. But
Okay.
yeah, Japan. And then we also flew up to these little islands in the north and did a lot of like touristy stuff, like went to the temples where you put the smoke on you for good health. And oh, it was such a
Oh,
fun trip.
fun. Amazing. You got that young. That's great. So I'll make sure to leave links in the show notes of how folks can get in touch with you if they have questions or want to reach out, follow
Okay.
you, get your
Yeah,
book.
they can always go to my website. It's amandajoyce.com and I can
Okay.
send that to you. But that also has books to the link or links to the book. Flip that. Links to the
Yes.
book and then has like a course I'm working on right now to also help those who've gone through loss. So,
Hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Love to share that.
okay.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here.
Megan, it's good to talk to you.
You too. Writer, teacher, author, Mormon scholar, and founder of Dialogue Journal, Eugene England said, "My faith encourages my curiosity and awe. It thrusts me out into relationship with all creation and encourages me to enter into dialogue." As a proud member of the Dialogue Podcast Network, my hope is that Living Beyond the Shadow of Doubt podcast is an extension of that vision. Visit meganskidmorecoaching.com to find this podcast and additional free resources, including the link for a complimentary coaching session. Follow me on Facebook or Instagram for more or to send me a DM. Help the podcast grow. Please follow, review, and share with a friend.